Good Monday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. We're presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary, located on the Charlottesville Downtown Mall. Skooma Boutique Dispensary, the newest dispensary, the best dispensary in the city of Charlottesville, right on the Downtown Mall. David T. and his team at Skooma Boutique Dispensary have certificates of analyses for everything in the store. We thank our partners at the Boar's Head Resort for being a part of this program as well. They have a fabulous event on the very near horizon called the Winter Wonder at Boar's Head Resort. Our director, Judah Wickower, is getting a link on screen. Look at the screen. Thank you, Judah Wickower. The link on screen to purchase tickets to the Winter Wonder, which runs November 26th to January 30th. An Instagram-worthy, gorgeous experience for date night, for family, and for friends. They light the acreage, much of the acreage at the Boar's Head Resort for your enjoyment. Twinkling lights everywhere. Just a fantastic evening at the Boar's Head Resort. So much to cover on today's program, my friends. We will talk the new interim city manager today in the program. We will explain why the new interim city manager will have a much easier job than former city managers Chip Boyles, John Blair, and Dr. Terrion Richardson. We will also identify the incredible success Albemarle County is having from a vaccination standpoint. In fact, 85+% of those who are eligible to be fully vaccinated are fully vaccinated. I'll repeat it again. Over 85% of Albemarle County is fully vaccinated. And that's why the world's newspaper, the New York Times, is calling Albemarle the place to vacation on the East Coast. NBC 29's founder has passed away. This happened over the weekend on Saturday. Harold Wright at his home in Lake Monticello. Harold Wright was a boss of mine. I worked for NBC 29 for nearly 6 years. I'll offer some perspective on Harold Wright, the general manager and the station owner, and how he pioneered broadcast television in Charlottesville and in Central Virginia today on the show. And speaking of broadcast, John Freeman has been named the voice of the Cavaliers, a Western Albemarle High School graduate, a hard-hitting safety for Steve Isaacs and the Western Albemarle Warriors, now the new voice of Virginia football and men's basketball. He assumes the role of David Kane. Of course, Dave Kane went to the Milwaukee Bucks of the National Basketball Association. John Freeman, props and kudos to you. We'll also talk Thanksgiving. We have the most expensive Thanksgiving on record as supply chains remain pinched, as labor shortages drive up prices. It's you and I, the consumer, who get passed along the increased expenses. We'll talk about expensive Thanksgivings today on the program. The United States of America has ended an international travel ban. I have a friend, Mr. Dean Russell, who is South African, who has not been able to see his parents in some time. International travel ban ended today, and now folks can fly to many countries in our globe that otherwise they could not enjoy, experience, or spend some time with their friends and family of their homeland. We'll talk football and basketball. The Wahoos have two big-time matchups this week. Tomorrow, UVA men's basketball and Tony Bennett on the hardwood in their season opener against Navy at the John Paul Jones Arena. The Wahoos are ranked 24 in both polls. And football, Bronco Mendenhall's club hosts Notre Dame on Saturday. Notre Dame is a 5-point favorite. The game is scheduled for ABC national television, 7:30 kickoff. Wahoo's already bowl eligible at 6-3. Now they're playing to improve their bowl status. And frankly, they're playing with some big-time matchups on the near horizon. Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech that will determine the Coastal Division Championship. So much to cover on the program. We thank Dr. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine for being a part of the show. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner has your back. The lead of the story, the lead of the show, undoubtedly has to be the new city manager. And the new city manager is a gentleman by the name of Mark Woolley. the interim city manager, interim at first, is earning a $205,000 yearly salary, just over $200K, $205,000 a year. He spent Friday afternoon in a Zoom meeting with City Council discussing his goals, his expectations. Frankly, he had to defend some of his sticky situations from his resume. I looked beyond some of those sticky situations. I think a lot of those situations that were outlined in Ginny Bixby's article in the Daily Progress, and I thought Ginny Bixby did a hell of a job with her news article in the Daily Progress. If you haven't had a chance to read Bixby's story in the DP, please do. But some of the stuff that Woolley's been associated with, tied with, whether it's Chief Operating Officer for Salt Lake City, his time with the Hershey Foundation. Look, when you rise, the Hershey Trust Company, when you rise to a position of influence and power, you're going to have some speed bumps, some frictions, and some beef along the way. And Mr. Woolley undoubtedly has risen to positions of power in a number of localities and working for a number of institutions. So that friction, those speed bumps, they're going to come with the territory. That's the nature of the beast. I'm convinced that this gentleman, Mark Woolley, $205,000 a year, the interim city manager, I am convinced he will have much easier sledding now than either John Blair, Dr. Richardson, or Chip Boyles ever had. And the reason I'm convinced of that is because the turnover we will have on council. It is no secret, and I've outlined it time in and time again on this program. The mayor has been a lightning rod for problems in local government. She has 53 days left on the dais, and then she will no longer be a part of Charlottesville government. In fact, conversation is she's looking at positions outside of Charlottesville because of difficulty finding work due to her 4 tumultuous years in our city. So with the mayor no longer being on the dais come January 1, I expect Mark Woolley to have a much easier path to city management. I would expect Mark Woolley to fill vacant positions, and between now and April, he's got a tryout period that we're calling interim city manager. And that tryout period is between right now for the 52-year-old and April 2022. Between now and April of next year, if Mr. Woolley can do some of the following things, and it's fill vacant spots in City Hall, show that the government is running smoothly and behind the scenes, at least give the perception that they've, quote unquote, stabilized the organization. If he can keep headlines, negative ones, to a minimum, I think this guy legitimately is being groomed to be the full-time city manager in the city of Charlottesville. Look, he's moving his family, moving his wife to Charlottesville to take over a position that is notoriously difficult to survive in. If between now and the end of his tryout, April of next year, he can smoothly sail and run our government, I think you're probably looking at the long-term future city manager, and he will shed that interim status. That's certainly in his head. When he was asked in the media, the press conference, the Zoom press conference on Friday afternoon, will he apply for the full-time position? He spoke with confidence and conviction and said absolutely. And Woolley, 52, making $200K plus a year, a guy who's an attorney, a guy who's worked for some big-time law firms, a guy like this is able to read the tea leaves. And the tea leaves he's reading is this. I have 53 days left on the job with what appears to be the problem, Mayor Nakia Walker. And on the 1st of January, she's no longer part of government. So if I can make it, and this is what Wooley's thinking, if I can make it to January 1, then I can really show this municipality in January, February, March, and April what I'm capable of doing. And in that spurt of time, if I can stabilize the government, if I can fill these vacant positions, then I have a very legitimate shot of getting this full-time city manager job. It's very similar to a football or basketball coach that comes in mid-season. And this football or basketball coach who comes in mid-season, 6, 7, 8 games left on the campaign, if that football or basketball coach has success over that 6, 7, 8 games to close the year after the head coach has been canned, that interim coach will be considered for the full-time position the next year. That's what Wooley's got going on right here. So we got a 52-year-old who most recently served as business administrator for the city of Harrisonburg, Pennsylvania. The business administrator in the city of Harrisonburg, Pennsylvania is very synonymous with city manager. Very synonymous with city manager. And a couple of other items from Friday afternoon's press conference. I want to give some props to Lloyd Snook. Lloyd Snook on Friday's Zoom press conference asked Mark Wooley some very straightforward and difficult questions about his past, about some of the hurdles and speed bumps and perceived problems he has on his resume. And some people interpreted those questions as Councilor Snook putting Mark Wooley through the ringer. That's not what happened. What Councilor Lloyd Snook did was ask the tough questions himself first so Mr. Wooley could answer them on the record, so we could hear out of the gates Wooley's side of what transpired. Snook and Wooley in that scenario were managing media perception. I thought it was very strategic for the attorney Lloyd Snook, the Councilor Lloyd Snook, to ask these difficult questions in Friday's press conference, knowing that they would eventually come up either on Friday or down the road. In today's digital culture, there are no secrets anymore. What you've posted on social media, your transgressions, things that have happened, especially in open jobs like city manager, open jobs like city councilor, open jobs like board of supervisors, there are no secrets. I thought Lloyd did a hell of a job asking the tough questions right out of the gate, so Wooley could start managing the narrative. And that was exactly the strategy. So, in conclusion, if Mr. Wooley can get from now until 12:01 a.m. on January 1, 2022 unscathed, then this guy has a very good shot of shedding the interim moniker for a full-time city manager position. He has to keep his nose clean and stay the hell away from Nakia Walker for the next 53 days. That should be his number one goal. His number two goal is to fill the vacant spots. His number one goal for 53 days is to stay the hell away from Nakia Walker. He does that, and you may be looking at our full-time city manager. You heard it here first on the I Love CVille show. All right, let's talk Albemarle County and vaccinations. We have some positive statistics to deliver to you. Albemarle County, for those that are eligible for full vaccine status. Now remember, not all children are eligible for full vaccination status. If you're under 5, you can't get vaccinated yet. Children 5 to 11 just got approved for vaccination. And children 12 to 18 are just figuring out the vaccines themselves, although most of them are getting vaccinated now. So for the people in Albemarle County, the citizens in Albemarle County that are eligible for full vaccination, Over 85% of Albemarle County is fully vaccinated. That is a startling number, a positive number, an incredible number, a number that we should champion, praise, and sing from the rooftops of Wendell Woods Mountain. Job well done, Albemarle County. I'm a man of science. I am a man of innovation, a man who trusts medical professionals. And when medical professionals say the safest path to health and longevity is through this vaccine, then I'm all for it. 85% plus of eligible Albemarle Countyans are fully vaccinated. That's great news. Well done, Albemarle. This is why the New York Times has called Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville the top spot to vacation on the East Coast. Because when you come here to vacation, you know the citizens, the locals that you're going to encounter are vaccinated and health conscious. And getting tourism back on track is going to be good for this economy. Certainly as we head into the first quarter of next year, the cold, chilly months, when things get a little slower around these parts. So props, praise, and big time kudos to Albemarle Countyans, 85% plus fully vaccinated. Now we got some sad news for you. Harold Wright, the founder of NBC 29, my boss for nearly 6 years, a gentleman who launched WVIR NBC 29 on March 11th, 1973, passed away on Saturday at his home in Lake Monticello. This guy was the definition of visionary, risk taker, and entrepreneur. Harold Wright arrived in Charlottesville, much like I arrived in Charlottesville, as a student at the University of Virginia. Mr. Wright arrived as an engineering student. As an engineering student, he fell in love with broadcasting. And after graduating from UVA, Mr. Wright and a handful of other gentlemen, Jim Fernald in this mix as well. Jim Fernald still playing tennis around these parts. You may see Jim Fernald hitting fantastic forehands and backhands from baselines at Farmington. Harold Wright and a couple of other trusted friends and business partners, with about $500,000 in seed money, launched NBC 29 on March 11th, 1973. Mr. Wright, a guy who was coming to work even last year, took an idea of launching a local television station in a tiny market like Charlottesville, and he made it a reality. Up until NBC 29's launch in 1973, if you wanted local news on your television, you were watching a newscast from Richmond, Virginia. Mr. Wright, for an extended period of time, and his team of NBC 29 were the only players in town. Then, the Newsplex, which was CBS 19, the ABC affiliate, and the Fox affiliate, entered the mix. And CBS, ABC, and Fox, then called the Newsplex, entered the mix early in my career in media, while I was working for the Daily Progress fresh out of college. That must have been about 2005, 2006. From 1973 until when CBS 19 and the Newsplex entered the game, NBC 29 was the only horse in the race. And when they were the only horse in the race, they gained market share and viewership epic rates. I worked for Mr. Wright for nearly 6 years. I watched a gentleman walk the various floors of the NBC 29 station on Market Street, a hop, skip, and a jump from where I'm broadcasting this show right now. He knew people's names. He greeted them with a smile. He was always clad in a blazer, a tie, and slacks and dress shoes, even in the dog days of summer. In the early days of NBC 29, Mr. Wright turned the transmitter on early in the morning and then would hit the streets looking for advertisers to keep the station on air. Mr. Wright was TV news and broadcast television in Central Virginia. And I'm going to give you a little history lesson here, something that I saw firsthand. From 1973 till about 2004, 2005, 2006, NBC 29 was the only local news station on TV. Because they were the only local news station on TV, they basically could command whatever rates they wanted for 30-second spots, for billboards, for branding elements within newscasts, like the weather sponsorship or the high school football sponsorship. When CBS 19, ABC, and Wahoo Fox, the Newsplex, entered the mix in 2004, 2005, 2006, somewhere in that window, they had to compete with a behemoth. It was a David competing with a Goliath. Instead of a slingshot and some rocks as their weapon of choice, the Newsplex's weapon of choice was cutting rates. And the Newsplex basically was dubbed by us team members at NBC 29 as the dollar for holler conglomerate. And how they chose to win and battle was by cutting rate cards and the cost for commercial inventory. I remember sitting in a sales meeting with Mr. Wright, the general sales manager, the local sales manager, and some account executives. We were strategizing how to combat the rate cuts the Newsplex was doing to the television market in Central Virginia. These rate cuts really eroded market share and bottom line revenue for NBC 29. So much so that over the last few years, NBC 29 is operating significantly in the red from a revenue standpoint. I will cut to the chase. It's a small market, Charlottesville in Central Virginia. It's an antiquated media medium called television. In a small market and an antiquated media medium called television, the future of broadcast is in peril. Regardless, Mr. Harold Wright brought television news and local broadcasts to a jurisdiction, and for 30, maybe 40 years, this guy ran the behemoth media platform in the Charlottesville area. He should be applauded, commended, remembered. He was TV news. He was broadcast television. All right, speaking of media, John Freeman, Western Albemarle High School graduate. John Freeman, UVA graduate. John Freeman, once a hard-hitting safety for Steve Isaacs and the Western Albemarle Warriors. He will take over as voice of the Cavaliers and handle play-by-play duties for football and men's basketball, as well as the in-season Coach's Corner programs. He replaces Dave Kane, who is now working with the Milwaukee Bucks of the National Basketball Association. For the last 14 years, Dave Kane has been that silky smooth baritone voice we've heard on the Virginia Sports Radio Network. Mr. John Freeman, I'm glad to see he got this position. A UVA alum who previously served as the play-by-play announcer for the Nashville Soccer Club of Major League Soccer, for Tennessee State men's basketball, VCU women's basketball, the Atlantic 10 Network, and Randolph-Macon and Georgia Athletics. John Freeman has handled play-by-play announcer duties for the last 4 UVA football games, starting with the Louisville Tilt. Virginia's athletic department has been searching for a play-by-play guy, and I'm glad to see that they turned to A UVA alum, B, someone that's local who grew up in Crozet, and C, a guy that does it right. Hardworking, well-researched, friendly, approachable, understands that calling a game is not about himself, but about telling the story of what's transpiring on the gridiron or on the hardwood. Mr. John Freeman, we salute you, and we know you're going to do a hell of a job as the voice of the Virginia Cavaliers. A couple more items out of the notebook. And if you want some comments or some praise or some perspective heard on the show, put your comments in the feed, and I will relay your thoughts live on air on the I Love CVille Show. Folks, I posted something on social media over the weekend about this being the most expensive Thanksgiving in history. And it was a graphic from one of the national news stations. In 2020, according to Texas A&M AgriLife Institute, in 2020, a 16-pound turkey averaged $28.80. I'm looking at it now. In 2021, the same 16-pound turkey averaged $55.20. You're talking a near 2x increase in price for a turkey for Thanksgiving. And it doesn't just stop at turkeys, guys. We're talking stuffing, we're talking green beans. Who has seen the cost of a pack of bacon recently? Have you seen how much a cost of a pack of bacon is running these days? It's through the roof. This will be the most expensive Thanksgiving on record. And it's the same supply chain issues we are seeing in the housing market. What is driving the cost of new construction in the housing market? A, labor shortages. B, cost of goods are going through the roof. C, governmental red tape. D, too many buyers and not enough supply to accommodate said buyers. What is driving the cost of Thanksgiving through the roof? A, labor shortage. B, fuel costs, also impacting new construction. Gas impacts everything. Fuel, you need trucks to transport lumber. You need trucks to transport granite. You need trucks to transport toilets, bathtubs, faucets, finishes. You need trucks to transport turkeys, green beans, stuffing. You need trucks to transport sweet potato pies and pumpkin pies and the cornucopia we call Thanksgiving cuisine. The same indicators or factors that are driving up the cost of new construction inventory, labor, fuel, cost of goods, are driving up the cost of Thanksgiving meals. And this will be the most expensive Thanksgiving in the history of Thanksgivings in our country. Eventually, you need to ask yourself this question. The disposable income that is being allocated to gasoline that is approaching $4 a gallon, the disposable income that's being allocated to the most expensive Thanksgiving in the history of the United States of America. The disposable income that's being allocated to increase packs of bacon, where is that going to get pulled from? The disposable income that is needed for increased costs for Christmas and holiday gifts for little Johnny and little Susie and the extended family, where is that money coming from? We live on a set budget. There's only a certain amount of dollars we earn every 2 weeks. If Thanksgiving and Christmas cost more than ever before, if Thanksgiving costs more than ever before, if packs of bacon cost more than ever before, where are those dollars going to get shifted from? And what sectors of business or spaces of work are most vulnerable to that shift of capital? That's a real question we must consider. Next topic on the program. This is a good one. This is a macro topic. In fact, this is a world topic. This is a pandemic milestone. This is reason for celebration, a pandemic milestone. Today, the United States of America ended a pandemic travel ban that was in place for more than 18 months, a year and a half, a relief for the tourism industry and for families that have been separated by pandemic rules and mandates since this crisis began in early 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, viewers and listeners, international travel has been banned from the United States to 33 countries, including the United Kingdom, South Africa, Brazil, and much of Europe. I have family, you have family, we know friends, we all have friends who are unable to travel to their family and friends in other countries. 33 countries had travel bans, meaning United States citizens could not hop in a plane and head to South Africa to see mom and dad, head to the United Kingdom to see mom and dad or friends and family. Now visitors can fly into the U.S. with proof of full COVID vaccination. Though there are exemptions for travelers under the age of 18 and passengers from countries with low vaccination rates, this is still reason to celebrate. This is a pandemic milestone, the United States ending international travel bans, opening the door to vaccinated tourists. I love this. Just in time for the holidays. And I know what a lot of people are thinking. And it's been mentioned to me on social media. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Jerry. Sure, Albemarle County is 85% fully vaccinated. Yes, the pandemic milestone of the U.S. ending international travel ban is a reason to get excited. But let's remember last year, with Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the cold months where people huddle inside over some marshmallows, hot chocolate at a warm fire, and what that has done to the spread of this pandemic, to the spread of COVID. The difference, though, between now and this time last year is the high level of vaccination rates. And I'm not trying to put the proverbial cart before the horse. I'm not. But we're at a different time in this pandemic because of the modern marvel of medicine. Vaccinations are creating less hospital strain. Vaccinations are helping those stricken with COVID recover in quicker fashion and in much less severe health collateral damage. I'll equate it back to the housing market. You can tell real estate means a lot to me. In the last depression we had, 2008, 2009, 2010, that depression was undoubtedly caused by housing and real estate. 2008, 2009, 2010, bankers gave loans to every Tom, Dick, and Harry to every Jennifer, Sally, and Lauren. And when the Tom, Dicks, and Harrys and the Jennifer, Sallys, and Laurens defaulted on their mortgage, we had implosion, and that implosion led to a depression. It was 2008, 2009, 2010. The housing market now is very different. The Tom, Dick, and Harrys and the Sally, Jennifer, and Laurens are going through much more arduous interviews, fact checks, and compensation, money checks. They're being weeded out, the ones that should get mortgages. And just like COVID and this vaccination, this time last year, this pandemic spread like wildfire around this time because we didn't have enough vaccines. We weren't prepared. We couldn't see the forest through the trees. Now we've learned from what happened in history. And we've learned from the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we have vaccinations that should protect us come this holiday season, much like the housing market and how we're much more protected now than we were during the Great Recession. Two other items out of the notebook on this glorious Monday, a chilly Monday here in Central Virginia. UVA basketball and Virginia football have some big-time games this week. Let's start football first. UVA is on national television yet again. It's amazing what some victories, a high-scoring offense, and a Heisman Trophy contender, and Brennan Armstrong can do for Virginia football and earning national television exposure. Folks, there is no better exposure for a university than the success of a football team on national TV. When Michael Vick and Virginia Tech football went all the way to a national championship before losing to Florida State, applications to Virginia Tech the next year exponentially increased. For every academic that has big-time success at the university, sure, that creates brand exposure. But you know what it really creates? It puts in perspective how important exposure from the football team is worth. Virginia football exposure is exponentially more important for this brand and for this institution than academic exposure. And people hate to hear that, but that's a fact. You get on national TV against BYU, you get on national TV against Notre Dame, and people all over the globe, all over the country will see the UVA brand. The Wahoos are a 5-point underdog against the Fighting Irish, who are 8-1 on the season and number 10 in the country. UVA is already bowl eligible at 6-3 overall. UVA took a tough loss against BYU, where the loss was, yes, important and something to consider, but the injury to Brennan Armstrong superseded the value of the loss considerably. Brennan Armstrong was at the grand reopening of BurgerFi and 5th Street Station. BurgerFi and 5th Street Station, next to the movie theater, opened its doors literally at the onset of this pandemic. Then it closed its doors. And then BurgerFi and 5th Street Station went from a franchised location to a corporate-owned store. The franchisee was like, good Lord, I'm getting the hell out of this business. I'm getting the hell out of this location. All my capital's been eroded by paying rent to 5th Street Station. Now, BurgerFi is owned by the parent company. Over the weekend, why I bring up BurgerFi was because the corporate the parent company had Brennan Armstrong at the grand opening. If you went to BurgerFi on Saturday, not only could you get some free burgers for the first day it was reopened, but you got a chance to meet Brennan Armstrong. CBS 19 headed to BurgerFi for the grand reopening, not because of the burgers, not because of the cheese, not because of the quality of the beef or the brioche buns, not because it's cheddar or Swiss, not because it's provolone or is it Harlesburg, Judah? What's the name of that cheese? Harlesburg? Charlesburg. Not because of the cheese battle, not because of the crispiness of their fries or the viscosity of their milkshake or the timeliness or lack thereof of their service. No, CBS 19 headed to BurgerFi because there was a ginger southpaw who could throw the pigskin all over the football field there for the grand opening, making some money, and now athletes can make some money at grand openings like this. CBS 19 asked Brennan Armstrong, "How are the ribs?" He gave a little bit of a vague answer, a little bit of towing the company line type of answer, as he should. He shouldn't tip off Notre Dame and their defense on how he's doing. He should make the Fighting Irish prepare for two different types of quarterbacks. Jay Woolfolk and Brennan Armstrong, two different types of quarterbacks. Woolfolk, the true freshman, who's going to have to play under center if Brennan Armstrong can't go. If it was up to me, if I was a betting man, if I was a guy that was reading the tea leaves correctly, if I was Bronco Mendenhall, I'd sit Brennan Armstrong. I'd say, Brennan, we're playing Notre Dame. While we would love to beat a top 10 team in the country on national television, on ABC, and improve our bowl status, the games that really matter are Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech the following week. Because if we can win on the road at Heinz Field against the Pitt Panthers, a top 25 team, and if we can beat Virginia Tech at home at Scott Stadium in the Commonwealth Cup, then damn it, we're the Coastal Division champions. And we're going to put our vanity and our ego to a side, and we're going to let Brennan Armstrong get a couple weeks more of healthier, and we're going to have our ginger southpaw gunslinger under center for the November 20th matchup against Pitt and the November 27th matchup against Virginia Tech, instead of this Saturday's matchup against Notre Dame, number 10 in the nation. That's what I would do. And yeah, that burns. And yeah, that impacts the ego. And yeah, that'll catch some flack from people, but that's the right decision. And when you're the head coach or the CEO of a company, and when you're the CEO of the company, you fall on the sword for the betterment of the business. And that's what I think is going to happen. That's what I think is going to happen. Bronco has Brennan on the sidelines. A true first year will play under center, and Notre Dame will beat up on the Wahoos on national television. But it's going to be done for the betterment of a program come Pittsburgh on the 20th of November at Heinz Field, come Virginia Tech the 27th of November in Scott Stadium against the Virginia Tech Hokies. Virginia football, even if they get beat by 50 points by Notre Dame, is still in control of its destiny because it can beat Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech to close the season, and it will be the Coastal Division champions. And when it's the Coastal Division champions, Virginia has a shot to play in the ACC championship. And the ACC championship will be in December when Brennan can get even healthier. That's the right play. Now, last item out of the notebook today on a glorious Monday here in Charlottesville and in Central Virginia, across the Commonwealth and the world, here on the I Love CVille Network. Tony Bennett's Virginia men's basketball team opens the season. I can't believe I'm saying this. They open the season tomorrow against Navy. UVA plays Navy tomorrow, 9 o'clock tip-off, ACC Network. UVA plays Radford Friday. Both the Navy and Radford ball games are at home in the John Paul Jones Arena. The Friday contest is a 7 p.m. tip, ACC Network. Tomorrow's a 9 p.m. tip, ACC Network against Navy. Then the Wahoos travel to Houston a week from tomorrow, 8 o'clock ESPN. Have Coppin State on the 19th. And then they head to the Legends Classic, where they'll get a test against Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs, on the 22nd of November on ESPNU. Guys, it's basketball season. It is basketball season. The ACC Big Ten Challenge, I can't believe I'm saying this, is 21 days from now when the Hoos will face Iowa. The best time of year for me as a sports fan, there's a few of them. I love this time of year when football is in the home stretch and the games matter, and the start of basketball season is upon us. I love that time. My two favorite sports teams are UVA football and UVA men's basketball. Those are my two favorite sports teams. I love March Madness and the ACC tournament. That's probably my second time of year. My second favorite time of year. ACC men's basketball championship and March Madness. By a nose, I like the end of football season and the start of basketball season, especially when football's doing well, and right now the Wahoos are doing well. We're fortunate to live in Charlottesville and Albemarle County in Central Virginia. We got great sports, great restaurants, great breweries, great wineries. For me, great racket sports. I'm getting so hard into squash these days. Great hiking. I mean, it's no secret why this is the best place, why so many call it the best place to live in the country. So many. It's no secret. All right. Let's get the link back on screen. The Winter Wonder at Boar's Head Resort. Look at the screen. Use that link to order your tickets. November 26th through January 30th. The beauty of lights and the whimsy of nature intertwine harmoniously in the Winter Wonder at Boar's Head Resort. Experience the nature of Boar's Head during an illuminated lakeside stroll. As an extraordinary palette of colorful illuminations blanket the natural surroundings for a magical show of lights like no other. Guys, this is date night and a family event waiting to happen. Get your tickets now because they're going quick. Get your tickets now because they're going super quick. It is going to be awesome. I've had the benefit of a sneak peek here, and value pricing, $15 for an adults, $10 for children 4 to 12, prime pricing, $20 adults, and $15 for children 4 to 12. This is the event of the holiday season at the Boar's Head Resort. All right, that's the show. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show on the I Love CVille Network. Thank you kindly for joining us on a glorious Monday. We are back tomorrow, Tuesday, at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille Network with Real Talk, Keith Smith and myself, presented by Yes Realty Partners. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care.